Hello dear students. So today we are going to do slightly something very different. Till now you have been watching videos which are available online for the experiments that we have been discussing. But today I am making an attempt to show you an experiment as to how we do that in our laboratory setup. So we have already had a theoretical discussion of how to make commonly used media for growing bacteria and fungi. And I'm going to show the same process to you here in the laboratory. So without any delay, let us begin with it. So right now I am in the preparation area, and what I have done is I have taken up all the glasswares which are going to be needed for making the media, beginning with 250 ml flask. I have also taken measuring cylinder in which I will measure the volume of water that needs to be added to make the media. I have also taken distilled water, and I also have the composition ready. Right now I don't have a book with me, so what I have done is I have noted the composition on a piece of paper. But whenever you are working in the laboratory, your raw data book should always have the composition of the media that you want to prepare. And along with that, I have my toolkit. So the micro kit basically contains of labels, markers, scalpels, forceps. You can also see that there is a matchbox and a lighter, because if you want to work between the burners, you're going to need them. So I have all the things ready over here. And now obviously I have to first look for these components which will be added to make the media. So we are going to make two media over here, nutrient agar and Sabourates agar. So whatever are the components needed, that's going to be available here itself. So once you turn around in the preparation area, you will see all the set of chemicals which have been arranged alphabetically. Okay, so you just need to look for the chemicals that you need and take them out. And once you take them out, you can begin weighing them as per your requirement and start making the media. So let me take out all the chemicals that we need to make nutrient agar and Sabourates agar. So now you can see that whatever was essential for making the media has been removed and it has been kept ready. Now I will go to the next step, wherein I will first label my flask, because while I'm adding the components, I shouldn't confuse them. So I will begin with the labeling process over here. So to begin with the labeling process, I have first taken a marker and I'm going to pick up one of the flasks and I'm going to label it. So if I am going to make nutrient broth, I will label it as nutrient broth, or you can also just write as NB. Okay, so if you don't want to write the entire name, you could just write it as NB, which will be an abbreviation for nutrient broth. And also I will see to it that I write my initials, okay, and I will write the date on which I'm preparing this. So I write it as 21st, and you can see that this is how the entire label would look like, wherein I have the date, I have the name of the media, and I have my initials. Now it is very much essential to label it in this pattern for a basic reason, that anyone who is putting this into the autoclave for sterilization and taking it out should know that this flask belongs to you. And also at the same time, the date is very significant, because you should also remember that when you prepared it, right? And everything has its own expiry date. So you have to understand that you cannot prepare a broth and just keep it forever. Okay, obviously if it is sterilized, it will remain as it is, it will remain sterile for a good amount of time, but then it's always essential to know that when you prepare this. Okay, if you are inoculating this, you could also change the date to the date of inoculation, so that you come to know that when you inoculated the sample into this, and that also gives you an idea of when you started this particular experiment. Okay, so similarly, I will be labeling the other flask as well, but let us say that now I'm going to make a nutrient agar. So I label it as NA, I put my initials, and I put the date. So this is how the next flask would look like, wherein I have labeled it with the name of the agar, nutrient agar, my initials and the date. Okay. Similarly, I will do it for the other media also, which is going to be Sabarid's broth and Sabarid's agar. Okay. So I will do the same for all other flasks and keep them ready before I go to weigh the ingredients out. Yeah. So now everything is labeled, everything is ready. So I could begin with my weighing process. So I'm going to take you to the weighing balance now. So here is our weighing balance setup. You will always see that there are some papers kept here for weighing. There's also a spoon which could be utilized for adding the ingredients that you want to weigh. And the process first begins with switching on the main plug. So as you switch on the main plug, the instrument is going to start on its own, okay, and it will show you the indicator of on. And as it shows you the indicator of on, you could see that there is a button which says on or off, right? So we are going to click on that in order to switch it on. And once it switches it on, normally it should be at 00, but if it doesn't show you 00, if it shows you some kind of weight, then in that case you have another button over here which you can see reads as tare. Okay, so if it's not at 00, what you can do is you click on tare and this button is going to set it back to 00. But obviously this is going to be only when there is some kind of reading over here, even when nothing is being weighed. So in those circumstances, you need to click on tare so that it is set back to 00, and then you can start working. So I have all my apparatuses over here. I have my glassware, I have the weighing balance, I have all my ingredients, the weighing paper, and also the spoon. Okay. So to begin with, first and foremost, you pick up a paper to weigh your ingredient, and you're not going to place it like this, because if you're going to place it like this, there's a chance that whatever you weigh, it might just spill off. So to avoid that, we are going to fold this. Okay, we're going to fold it in such a way that the edges are going to be in a way raised so that the ingredients do not fall off. Okay, so you fold the paper in this fashion, okay, such that the edges are completely raised in this way, okay, so that it's not going to spill off. So you're folding it from all the sides, and then you're going to put it on the weighing balance. Okay, so it's very simple. It's just that you're folding it at all the edges. Now once you do that, you are going to place it on the weighing balance, and the moment you place it on weighing balance, there is going to be some weight of the paper that's going to be shown. So let me show you that first. So you can see that the moment I have placed the paper on the weighing balance, there is a weight that is being shown, and I'm going to click on tare to in a way nullify this and bring it to 00. So you could see that the moment I clicked on tare, it has gone back to 00. So it's nullifying the weight now. So now whatever I am going to add on to the paper, that's going to start from 00, and then there is going to be no confusion with respect to the amount of any ingredient that you're going to add to make the media. Okay, so let's begin with weighing the very first component for nutrient broth. Okay, so we are going to start with peptone. So to begin with, I have a jar over here, and this jar basically is going to contain clean water, and you can see that there's a spoon in it. Okay, so you could use this spoon for the weighing purpose, but please ensure that this should not be wet, because whatever ingredients you're going to weigh and add, they are in a powder form, and they mostly are organic components. So if you're going to add water to it, there is a chance that it's going to get spoiled, right? So we need to ensure that you have a cloth using which you wipe this out clean so that it's completely dry. Okay, and once you wipe this out, you are going to start weighing the media. Okay, so to begin with, let's say that you are going to use Peptone. So let me take out Peptone over here. So you all could see that this is the bottle of Peptone, right? So I am going to open this and I am going to remove a spoonful of Peptone from this. Don't take too much because you will end up adding too much then. And very gradually, I'm going to put this on the paper. Now when I put this on the paper, I'm going to see to it that it doesn't fall on the folded edges. And I am going to keep a check on the weight that's being shown. Okay, once it is close to 1, I am very gradually going to add it, and if it is slightly excess, I could remove it as well. Okay, so whatever I have used, that spoon is going to go back into the washing jar. Okay, now I will show you what's the reading on the weighing balance. So you could see that here it's around 1.03, which is fine because I needed 1 gram. So I have added it. It was slightly excess, so I removed a little, which you could avoid by adding very slowly onto the paper, and you could stop at the point where you see that it's nearing 1. Okay, so once this is ready, I am going to put this into the flask. So let's see how that is done. So I have my flask ready, which is already labeled with all the things that are needed, and now also I have weighed Peptone. So I'm going to unfold one edge very slowly, and I am going to add this into the flask immediately. Okay, and tap it from the backside and from the top, because these are all hygroscopic components which tend to stick onto the paper. So tap it well so that whatever is there on the paper should get transferred into your flask. So this is how it should look when all ingredient that you had weighed is transferred into it. Okay, so once you are done, now you can go for weighing the next ingredient. So once you're done weighing the first ingredient, we are now going to go to the second ingredient, but please ensure that the bottle of the first ingredient is tightly capped, because as I said that most of these ingredients are hygroscopic. So you need to take care that you immediately close the bottles from which you took the material and then go for the second one. And also remember that the paper that you use for weighing should ideally be different, because as I said that these materials stick onto the paper. So if the previous ingredient is still on the paper, that's going to add to the weighing errors. So it's always better that you go for a new paper for a different set of an ingredient. Okay, so I'm going to fold this again, and I'm going to fold all the edges so that I don't spill it while I am going to weigh it. So I fold it from all edges, and once that is done, I'm going to place it on the weighing balance. It's going to show me some reading. I'm going to click on tare to set it at 00, and then I will start the weighing process. So the next ingredient over here is yeast extract, as you could clearly see, and I have to weigh around 0.3 grams of yeast extract for 100 ml of nutrient raw. So I'm going to ensure that my spoon is clean from the previous weighing, and I'm going to in a way clean it and dry it using a cloth, post which I will weigh yeast extract. So I'm going to open and I'm going to take some amount of it. As it's 0.3 grams, it's very low, so I am going to be careful with my weighing process. Okay, so it's done, and I'm going to put the spoon back and I'm immediately going to close the bottle. And it's highly hygroscopic, so it's good that you wait and immediately you are going to put it into the flask. So again, tap it from all ends, see to it that it's properly into the flask. Okay, if you end up adding it late to the flask and you see that some amount of it is stuck onto the paper, then you could add water while you are going to add water to the final composition. You can pass the water through the paper, so whatever is stuck onto the paper goes into the media. So but for that you will obviously have to wait till the end, but it's better that you immediately add it into the flask so that all of it goes into the flask. Okay, so that's about the second ingredient, and I'm going to throw this paper off and start with a new paper for the next chemical, for the next ingredient. So the next ingredient here is going to be sodium chloride, NaCl. So for that, already the spoon has been washed. I'm going to just clean it with a cloth, post which I'm going to open the box. I have already put a weighing paper on the weighing balance and I have tagged it. So it's 0.5 grams. So I'm going to take some amount of NaCl and add it gradually to the paper. And the moment I get 0.5, I'm going to stop and I'm going to add that to the media. So I pick up the paper, slightly unfold it from one end, and I'm going to add all NaCl into the flask. So all ingredients that were needed for the nutrient broth has been added to it. Okay, only now the water part is left. Okay. So meanwhile, what I have done is I have also prepared a flask for nutrient agar, okay, having the same constituents, because nutrient agar is going to differ only in one component, that is it's going to contain agar, right? Rest of all the ingredients are going to be the same as it is in case of nutrient broth. So I have made two flasks, one for nutrient broth and one for the nutrient agar. Okay, now the next step that is going to be is to add water to it, okay, and only then the pH will be tested, post which to the nutrient agar flask you could add agar. Agar is never added before you test the pH. Okay, so please remember this point, that you weigh all other ingredients except agar once whenever you are making nutrient agar. So you add all other ingredients, add water to it, adjust the pH, post which you are going to incorporate agar if you're making a nutrient agar. If it's a nutrient broth, then your work would be done. Just add water, adjust the pH, and you could give it ahead for autoclaving. So after weighing all the ingredients, the next step is going to be addition of distilled water. So we have a distilled water can which is filled with distilled water. We have a separate distillation apparatus which is going to produce distilled water, and it is stocked up for use. Okay, so you have a measuring cylinder. We know that we have weighed the constituents according to 100 ml of nutrient broth or nutrient agar. So I will have to add 100 ml into the constituents that I have weighed in the flask right now. Okay, so using this measuring cylinder, which has a marking of 10 to 100, I am going to around measure 100 ml and add it directly to the flask. Okay, so let us quickly begin with that. So I'm going to check that it is exactly 100. If there is some difference, if it is a little excess, you can pour it out. If you feel that it is less, then you can add it. And now this is exactly 100. If you could see, it's exactly at the mark of 100. So I am going to add this into the flask. Okay. Do not spill the water when you add it to the flask, otherwise the volume is going to get affected. So gently shake it. Do not shake it very vigorously such that all constituents come on the side of the flask. That's not a good practice. Very gently shake it to dissolve all the constituents that is there in this particular media. So I'm going to do the same for the other flask as well. So I have added water to the other flask as well, and while adding the ingredients, if you notice that some of the ingredients have gone from the sides and it is stuck at the sides of the flask, please see to it that you put water from that end so that whatever is stuck at the sides of the flask, that should get dissolved in water. Okay, and shake it gently till the time all the ingredients in that is going to dissolve. And once everything dissolves, right now it's looking a little turbid, right? But once everything dissolves, you will see that it becomes a clear solution. Okay, so here you can see that the ingredients have almost dissolved, and also the solution has started becoming clearer, right? So once everything has dissolved, then you can go for checking the pH. So the next step is adjusting pH, and for that we are going to make use of pH paper. So pH paper comes in different pH ranges which you could test for, and they also have an indicator at the front of the bundle wherein it shows you that what color would you observe when it is of that particular pH. Okay, so you could see that in this case, if it's 6.5, it's yellow. For 7, it becomes slightly darker. For 7.5, it goes towards the skin color. For 8, it becomes red. For 8.5, it's going towards purple. So in that manner, you will see that once you add the solution whose pH you want to test, looking at the color change, you could compare it with this standard chart and find out what is the pH of your specific solution. So this is for one pH range. Similarly, you have for another pH range which is from 1 to 7, which is a very broad range. And there is also one for a shorter range which goes from 3.5 to 6. Okay, but for nutrient broth and nutrient agar, I know that the pH that I want is around 7.4. So I am going to go ahead with this third one, which we saw the very first time, because this is something which falls within the range and will help me test the pH effectively. So we are going to work with this particular pH range, and you can see that the strip is something like this, wherein you have several strips over here. Please ensure that you never touch it with wet hands or with hands using which you have dealt with some chemicals. So your hand has to be very clean and dry so that you don't spoil the papers. And you don't have to use an entire strip. Okay, a very small piece of that would work. So using a Caesar, you could cut a very small piece of it and place it on a clean and dry Petri dish base or lid, and using a glass rod or a pipette, you could take a drop of the solution whose pH you want to test, and you could put that on the small piece of paper that you have placed over here, and you could notice the color change. Okay, so that's what we are exactly going to do now, so you'll be able to see how it is exactly done. So I have a cleansed dry glass rod with me, using which I am going to take a drop of this particular completely dissolved and clear nutrient agar or broth that I had made, and I am just going to dip this rod into it. Okay, and I'm going to place this drop very gently over the pH paper that I have kept. Okay, and I'm going to compare its color with the pH strip that has been provided to me, and I'm going to find out if it is in the range that I want it to be, wherein I want the pH to be around 7.4. So you can see that right now the color that you see is very close to what 6.5 is, right? And I want it at the range of 7.4. So this is not something which I desire. So as it is acidic right now, then what I need, I am going to add a drop full of NaOH, for which you can see that always to adjust the pH, we make one normal NaOH and one normal HCl. You could also make a lower strength NaOH and HCl. You could start with 0.1 normal. The lower the intensity is, obviously the amount of acid or alkali that you may have to add could slightly change, could increase. Okay, and if you're using a strong alkali or strong acid, then you have to be sure that you don't add too much of it, because the pH could shift drastically and that could be very disastrous for your media. We don't want to use too much of acid or alkali in the media. So we will carefully, using a pipette drop by drop, we will add NaOH. So if I add one drop, I'm going to mix it and I'm going to check the pH. Only then, if needed, I will go for the second drop, not otherwise. So I'm going to use a clean and dry 1 ml pipette to do this, wherein I am going to take NaOH and I'm going to add just a drop of it to my media. And I'm going to swirl it so that the alkali spreads. And then I'm going to take a pH paper and another piece of pH paper. I cannot use the same one which I used earlier. So I will take a small piece once again and I will check the pH in the same way. So you could see that now after adding NaOH, the color of the pH paper is something like this, which is very, very close to what it is according to the range for 7.5. Okay, it's quite close. It's between 7 and 7.5. Okay, so that's adequate for me, because as I said that I don't want to add too much of alkali, and you can also see the comparison how it was earlier and how it is now. Right, so the addition has been done. Similarly, I will also adjust the pH for nutrient agar flask. Okay, and once the pH is adjusted, then we are going to add around 2 to 2.5 grams of agar to the nutrient agar flask and not to the nutrient broth flask. So once I add that, I will show you how it looks like. So I have weighed around 2.5 grams of agar and I have added that to the nutrient agar flask. So you can see that after addition of agar, it looks slightly turbid, and all the agar you can see at the base. And this is the nutrient broth, which doesn't contain the agar. Okay, so you can clearly see the difference, that which one is broth and which one is agar. Okay, now you need to understand that this agar is going to dissolve in it when you heat it. Okay, so if you're making plates, if you're making nutrient agar plates, this could be directly given for autoclaving, and when it comes out of the autoclave after sterilization, you will see that it looks crystal clear. Okay, you won't see such turbidity or haziness in the nutrient agar, and it would look very similar to what the broth right now looks like, but it's going to be a little thicker because of presence of the solidifying agent. Okay, now to give this for autoclaving, I have to plug this with cotton. So how do I make cotton plugs is what the next step is going to be all about. Okay, so now we are going to discuss as to how you can make cotton plugs to plug in your test tubes and other glassware, especially when you are going to put in things for sterilization like a flask containing media. You will have to plug it up. Okay, so for that you are going to make use of non-absorbent cotton. This is different from the normal cotton that is available, and non-absorbent cotton is used basically because it is not going to absorb a lot of moisture from the surrounding, and even when you put it in water it normally tends to float. Okay, so non-absorbent cotton is something that is very commonly used for plugging in your glasswares. So this is the non-absorbent cotton that I have taken, and I am converting it into a thin sheet of it, a very thin sheet of it, post which I'm going to fold it. Okay, I'm going to fold it in such a way that it forms a thick plug for me to plug in my flask. Okay, so I am going to fold it. Okay, and after folding it you could check it on a normal flask first, wherein you try to insert it. Okay, it should be pretty tight. Okay, it should be pretty tight, so that you know, the way to check if it is tight or not is to just shake it after attaching it onto the flask such that it shouldn't fall. Okay, this is an indication that this is pretty much tight. Okay, now we also reuse the cotton plugs that has been made earlier. So you can see that here is earlier used cotton plug which can be reused, because this is something that's going to go into the autoclave. So only thing that you should ensure is, if you're going to reuse it, take a very thin layer of the absorbent cotton, a very thin layer, and externally just coat it with this. Okay, just coat it with it, and then you use this for plugging it into the flask. So gently rotate this into the flask such that it's tight. Okay, so now this, you can see that it doesn't fall off. Okay, so this is how it should be. So similarly we will also plug in the other flask that we have with an already existing cotton plug, which I'm going to reuse. So I'm going to keep it over here, coat it with a thin layer of new cotton. Okay, and I'm going to plug this up. So I'm going to gently again rotate this such that it fits in. Okay, and this is ready. Now obviously it's not going to go into the autoclave just like that. I have an additional step to it. So that step is going to be wrapping this up with a paper, so that you know, this doesn't become wet, because it doesn't absorb moisture, but then yes, the steam could accumulate around and that could make it slightly soggier, which I want to avoid. So I'm going to cover this up with a piece of paper. So I'll show you how that is done too. So we use waste paper for this, which has already been used and, you know, is of no use now. So we use the waste paper for this. So you could gently cover it like this. Okay, give it a grip at the neck so that it remains there. Similarly, I will use another piece of paper to cover the another flask. Right, so I have it over here. Okay, now obviously I will have to tie it up. We don't use rubber bands for a basic purpose that due to the heat it may just break in the autoclave. There are chances, I don't say that it will break, but there are chances for it. So we tie it with a thread, right? So you could just give it a knot. Okay. So gently knot it up. And over here also write what it is. So this was nutrient agar and today's date with a marker. Okay, so I have done that. I have put up what the media is, and I have also put up the date. You could also add your initials, And similarly, even this is going to be tied up, and we are going to give it in for autoclaving. So now this is ready for autoclave, and this is going to go for sterilization, and your work of making media is done. So similarly, you could also make the other different kinds of media following the protocol, see the pH, and accordingly choose a pH paper range, and you could do this work in the laboratory. So once I'm done, I'm going to keep it in this area, which is in the preparation zone, which is normally for keeping all the flask and other materials for sterilization, because the autoclave is just here. So the non-teaching staff is going to put it for autoclave. Now the second thing is that once you're done with your work, you need to leave everything back as normal. So first and foremost, ensure that the